Despite Annie's allegations, Renee's family is certain there was never an
Danny, you know how long it takes for them to tame that?
That was something that Annie orchestrated.
Not long at all.
Then why didn't we have one already? Because I asked for one a long time ago.
She wasn't the type of person that
Because I don't feel we need one.
Well, I did.
An intimate relationship with Miss
No, I need poop.
Have you ever cheated on your wife, Mr.
Yeah, you can feed the thing stimberries and it'll poop a bunch.
Between Renee and the Clarks.
That's why I wanted
police
it.
two possible suspects. Tom, who provoked a 911 call just 2
Haven't
weeks
gotten
before the murder, and his jealous wife Anne,
Run it back a
who
little
just
bit
days
before you
before
got
the
home.
murder accused her best friend Renee of having.
What I'm saying is you could have went out and tamed it. They're not hard. They don't attack you.
Okay, well I didn't want to. He offered to, so what does it matter?
The couple claims they were together watching TV the night of the murder in the apartment below and heard nothing. And they both refused to take a polygraph. Without any hard evidence, there's nothing more police can do but let them go. Keep a close eye on the pair. For homicide detectives, one of the most perplexing challenges of this case has been the motive.
There was no forced entry. She had obviously let them in. Maybe they had access to a spare key.
They can't be sure if she was killed for a handful of pain pills or if there was a more sinister personal reason for inflicting
Take what?
20 stab wounds.
Yeah, but you know what you could do with
Then
these?
Renee's brother
I did not
and
know
sister
you could do
come
that.
into the station.
How did you do
Some
that?
water for you.
While going through Renee's things, they made a shocking discovery.
Renee
You can
had
pretty
some
much fly with these
money
fucking
orders
things.
that she kept. She didn't trust banks, and she kept
It's like a flying squirrel.
basically all of her
Okay, so I didn't
savings
put
and
any
money
trackers on
orders
those
under
ones,
the
but I
bed.
didn't think they'd
In
be
this
leaving big. I
box,
thought they were just like
it was
rafters
missing,
and like
so
puzzles.
I know that she kept it there all the time, so
So I'll
it
make
was
more
definitely
trackers.
taken by someone. It's about $3,000 to
Again, those will take
$4,000.
quite a bit.
basically her life savings.
You said it was all
So
money
like
orders?
Yes.
Suddenly, police may have an answer for why blood was found on the underside of Renee's bedsheet. They theorize it could have been left by the killer retrieving that box of money orders.
So we then started focusing our investigation on the money orders and trying to see if we could backtrack those.
Yeah. Nothing.
Alright.
Yeah, I can get-
money order is basically the same as cash. We couldn't trace it.
I was standing there.
Just as the lead on the money orders goes nowhere, the unidentified DNA from Renee's sheet also comes up empty in the National Criminal Database. But when investigators match it against DNA they've collected from Renee's family and friends, they get a hit. Right. And it's from someone they've already cleared.
Want to see more?
You have to pick it up though, Chris.
Housebound.
I could make a fucking barn of this.
36-year-old Renee Ely
Yeah, you'll have
relied on
plenty of
support
poop there.
visits from family, friends, and
I
neighbors.
don't understand why you didn't think one of those would be
On
useful.
a warm June night, one of those trusted
Because we didn't need it yet.
Yet, the greenhouse is already ready for it. The only thing that we have to do now is put fucking poop up there. I already have that up
blood
there.
found at the crime scene was mostly Renee's, except for one small stain on the
You
side
broke
of
my
the
voice
fitted
box.
sheet.
What the fuck?
Lab tests have matched that blood to 18-year-old John Vasquez, the boyfriend of Marie Marone, one of Renee's closest friends.
The blood is yours.
Well, what's
You
it do?
explain that to me?
At
I gotta go to the
first,
scar.
John is
Should I take an
speechless to
ID
learn his
or?
blood was found at the
I
scene.
thought you were supposed to
But
take
when
care of
he's
it.
told it was on a bed sheet, he has a ready
Yeah, but I have to go get
Yeah, you know what? I think I remember
cement.
that day. I was fixing
Fucking.
the shower head of my shower. It had broken and it's kind of rough and jagged, so I was fixing it and I accidentally cut my hand. Later on that day when we went to Miss Healy's house, I was
Dung
having to change the
beetle.
sheets and I might have got some blood on there from that.
Do what?
I gotta get a dung beetle.
With John having a George,
Why is that?
it was possible that he had blood on his hands at some point in time while he may have been fitting the linens for her bed. Just because you have the physical evidence doesn't mean you can prove murder.
Vasquez also passed a polygraph and has a solid alibi. His girlfriend, Marie Marone. So once again, he is dropped down the suspect list.
Of course, that's disappointing in an investigation because you have determined that you have a suspect or at least a possible suspect, and you are now proceeding in that direction. And then you have things occur that indicate that's not the right direction, and it is disappointing.
Do not get her going. That is all I have dealt with today.
On July 3rd, 10 days after the murder, Renee Healy is laid to rest in a going home celebration, attended by
She's a kitten, Danielle. She gets hyper.
I'm good. Day by
Oh, I'm
day.
flying the wrong way.
It was beautiful. It was very touching. There's so much love in that building.
She was rolling around
because of her.
Fucking
She just was always so loud and so happy and so joyous, and you could be having an awful day and then you see her and it'll just humble you out and shut you up. I just miss her joyous personality. Just her.
But at the memorial, 2 people from Renee's life don't bother to show up.
I did notice, though, that Annie Clark and her husband didn't come.
Annie and Tom Clark were cloning 1-1 after a fight with Tom only 2 weeks before she was killed.
We were not surprised that Anne and Tom did not attend her going home services. We thought that if one or both of them weren't directly responsible for her death, that they knew who was responsible for her death.
Despite Renee's family's suspicions, police could not build a case against the couple. And as Renee is laid to rest, it appears her killer may never be caught.
The leads started to run out. No one's coming forward. No one's pointing fingers. There was just pieces here and there.
The case has no shortage of suspects. Volatile ex-boyfriend Jose Mohammed Garcia the day before the murder, but he has a solid alibi.
She didn't know what the fuck they were until I
John
broke them apart.
Vasquez's blood was found at the scene, but he passed a polygraph with flying colors,
Yeah, you don't know what it was
along with his
until I broke it
girlfriend,
in pieces.
Marie Moreau. A mysterious 911 call cast suspicion on Tom and Annie Clark, the married couple who lived downstairs. But they've got each other as alibis, and there's no physical evidence linking them to the attack.
Oh, fuck.
Months pass, then years, and Renee's family and friends are tortured by the questions surrounding her murder.
We were very frustrated by them telling us they didn't have anything about that. I did this too. I think the biggest
See this shit, Danielle?
challenge was just the uncertainty of knowing, no justice for such
A wild one?
Yeah.
I saw it. I thought it wasn't wild.
never know. Just never know.
5 years after her murder, Renee's mother Barbara passes away, unable to see her daughter's killer brought to justice.
It was hard
I'll be good.
to watch her suffer.
She talked about her every day.
Why? Who would do such a thing?
To lose a child is like one of the hardest things. And then to lose a child from such a malicious, vicious act, it broke her heart.
Renee's case languishes for nearly 5 more years. Then, on May 19th, 2011, 11 years after the murder, a woman
Oh, yeah, if it keeps hitting me like it is.
Boise, Idaho, is admitted to a local hospital. She's just been viciously beaten by her boyfriend. As the abuse victim describes her ordeal to a local detective,
He said he was gonna kill me.
she says her boyfriend threatened he would do the same thing to her that he did to a crippled woman in Denver.
He said that he and his ex-girlfriend murdered a woman. That they stabbed her in the back a bunch of times.
Detective Stanford.
Boise Police Department called us and said, would this happen to something like you had? We started comparing it to our unsolved cases, and sure enough, they had had enough information that started to connect it to Renee Healy's murder.
The woman even provides details of the crime only the killer would know.
That's not what I
He
want.
just kept stabbing her.
She stated he said it was stabbed her and stabbed her and stabbed her. And because the
That's what I
she
want.
was stabbed multiple times had not been reported in the newspaper.
He bragged about murdering this woman.
When you're hearing this information, there's a couple things that come into your mind. How does she know this information? And is it true?
Then, she reveals the man's identity. And it's someone Denver police remember all too well. Slashed to death in her Denver apartment. There's a break in the case.
Detective Stanford.
800 miles away, in Boise, Idaho, a woman says her abusive boyfriend confessed to fatally stabbing someone in Denver exactly 11 years ago.
Look in his eyes.
And when she reveals his name, it sends a shockwave through the investigation.
His name is John Vasquez.
John Vasquez, the boyfriend of Marie Marone. Vasquez managed to pass a polygraph a decade ago, but this new witness statement changes everything.
It was mind-blowing and shocking all at the same time.
I never want to eat, bitch.
So we got the arrest warrant and went to go talk to him. This is the cool part. This one gets fun.
In a Boise, Idaho police station, John Vasquez is visibly anxious as he waits for Detective Stanford to arrive.
John?
He's now a 29-year-old psychology student at a local college. He broke up with Marie Marone in 2002 and has been dating his current girlfriend for a year before sending her to the ER.
Come on, bitch. Wait till you're hungry. Get hungry again.
Detectives read directly from the statement that John's girlfriend made from her hospital bed.
John had told
Fucking
her
hell,
he had been
bro.
involved in something very horrible and stated that he had killed a female by the name of Renee. Boise Police Department police report.
Vasquez is not impressed.
She also told the police officers after that she lied only to get me in trouble. That she told her mom to lie only to get me in trouble. She also lied.
Bring up this information.
She lied because she wanted to get me in trouble. She tried. Everybody's lying. I don't know who killed Renee.
For the next hour, John
Does it ever
Vasquez
get hungry
denies
again?
everything thrown at him.
And they're all liars.
But she said I did it. Show me where she said that I did it.
They're all liars.
Show me where all these people are telling me that I did it. Show me, detective, please.
God damn.
So that you can shut me up. Show me where they all said John did it.
Already shut you up.
Didn't shut me up. You know I'm right, detective.
Detectives get nowhere with Vasquez. So they track down Vasquez's ex-girlfriend, Marie Marone. She's single, now living in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Just want to know, did I do something really bad?
I want to talk to you about a homicide that occurred with life in Denver. You've talked to the police once about already Renee Hayes' homicide. Yes, it was. That's what it was.
Somebody told me that they found the person that killed her. What was that?
Do you remember Renee?
Yeah, Renee was a sweet lady. She was kind of, I wasn't my best friend, but she was a good friend.
Yeah, because truth is that talk to John, getting one side of the story, meaning both sides of the story.
When Marie hears they've already talked to John, a change comes over her. She has no idea what John's told them or if he's blamed her for the murder.
Damn.
So she agrees to tell her own version of events that night.
Oh, I hear another one.
I need a cigarette. Yeah, I need a cigarette. Can I get a cigarette?
I'll go get you.
Over a series of interviews, Marie recalls the night 11 years ago when Renee's life was cut short.
Is this the Titanfall one?
Marie and Vasquez were taking care of her, as they often did. But on this night, the two were desperate for cash, and Vasquez noticed Renee had a fresh bottle of milk.
He said, I need pills. Pills? He was like, where? Why did you use the word pills for? Because they come all over the street.
Marie also kept her occupied. Vasquez slipped into the kitchen, where he knew exactly where to find Renee's biggest knife.
And then as soon as he came up on her, he grabbed the back of her head. It didn't work. Stop it! Stop! Not only did he slice her throat, but he stabbed her.
There's a wyvern nest, but I don't see no eggs.
Not twice, not 3 times either. He was going over and over and over and over.
Said I found a wyvern nest with no egg. I don't know if I can see an egg from here, but from where I'm at I can't. Maybe up here.
And her prescription medicine. They also took the murder weapon, which was never recovered.
No, I can't see if there's an egg.
Correctly.
One of the unanswered questions for investigators is how John and Marie could both pass a polygraph so easily.
Did you participate in the murder of Renee Ely? No.
John's current girlfriend told a Boise detective that he'd devised a strategy for taking the lie detector test. He trained himself to distract his mind while answering questions, and taught Marie to do the same.
Did your boyfriend, John Vasquez, have anything to do with the death of Renee Ely?
No.
The simple tactic worked, and they almost got away with it.
Yes.
John Vasquez's Boise girlfriend also revealed the sick duo had a motive beyond robbery.
Part of the reason for killing Renee was they wanted to know what it was like to kill someone. They took someone's life because they wanted to know what it was like to take someone's life. I don't know if it gets any more barbaric than that.
Marie now puts on a big show, claiming John was the only one who took pleasure in the killing.
I didn't see any anger at all. What I saw was happiness. When he killed that woman, he jumped up and laughed. That's happiness. You don't laugh at just nothing. He laughed.
But there's little doubt of the evil that lies deep in Marie's heart.
She's one of the most vile human beings. John may have been the one that plunged the knife in her, but I really believe she was the driving force in this one.
In 2011, Marie Marone and John Vasquez are charged with first-degree murder. Marie pleads her charge down to second-degree murder, while John Vasquez puts his fate in the hands of a Denver jury. In the fall of 2012, that jury finds him guilty of first-degree murder.
The woman that he killed was someone who had been nothing but kind to him. In fact, she had provided him a place to stay. I've been friends with him and his girlfriend at the time.
At 36, her life wasn't over. She was gonna get better, she was gonna get stronger, but he didn't even give her that chance. And didn't even give our family that chance.
Might have been in a lot of pain that day, but just look at her smile.
You're welcome.
You wouldn't even be able to tell. If I could say anything to her, I would
For being home and making her call
that I love her, and that I miss her, and that I hope I'm making her proud.
She is in heaven right now.
Always giving a helping hand. Even though she
That's the one. That's the Cleo you like.
Just for being heard.
That's the Cleo you like.
Giving me what I needed when I needed it. And
the lazy, lovable one.
Thank you.
Not the crazy psycho one. That's what you're going to do.
remains of Howard Whitcomb. The 32-year-old had been scheduled to attend a barbecue that afternoon. When he didn't show and couldn't be reached by phone,
Yo, Howard!
One of Howard's friends checks up on him just after.
Damn, they know we need more plots in here.
He saw blood stains on the walkway
You think that's
in
enough?
front of the door, and what appeared to be bullet holes in the door itself.
I need more than that.
Worst, the friend calls 911, and within minutes, Howard Whitkin's townhouse is a crime scene.
Don, get some shots of this.
Howard Whitkin was in the hallway just inside the front door. He had multiple gunshot wounds.
I got him right in the heart.
There are 7 small holes in the front door, which match the number of shell casings located outside.
Hey, you see these? Yeah, that's the other door.
3 more shells are spotted 20 feet away. They're all from a .22 caliber weapon, probably a rifle. It appears the gunman fired 3 shots while hiding in the bushes, hitting Howard as he stood outside his front door.
The shooter stood outside and kept shooting through the door, hoping to hit the victim inside the door.
The gunman fired 7 times, and each one hit its mark.
What?
Investigators search for signs the killer entered the house.
We tested footprints, but nothing inside the residence was associated in any way with who the killers were.
There's no evidence of forced entry, and nothing to indicate this was a robbery gone bad. Instead, it looks as if Howard was the victim of a carefully planned ambush.
It wasn't some type of a domestic thing. It had all the earmarks of being some type of a contract killing.
Detectives set out to find everything they can about the unfortunate Howard Whitkin. Born and raised in California, Howard was the middle son of a prosperous and hard-working Santa Clara family.
Howard was a fun-loving guy, loved life. He was humble and just, wanted to do good things.
At the time of his death, he was a manager of the family's thriving glass and mirror business.
Basically, he was the heir to the throne. He was the one that was going to take over when my grandfather decided that he was going to retire.
In 1966, Howard met the love of his life, Judy Barnett. She was visiting relatives in California who happened to be friends of Howard's, and he jumped at the chance to show her around the Golden State.
Howard was head over heels taken with Judy. She was attractive, she was bright, and I just remember when he brought her over to my house.
You want to go upstairs?
He was beaming from ear to ear.
They married in 1968 and settled in Santa Clara, where they raised 2 boys, Daniel and Nathan, and a girl, Marie.
A lot of people really looked up to my dad. My dad was the type that he would take his shirt off his dad if it was going to help you out.
Put poop in it.
Very caring, very giving. Everybody loved my dad.
But after 9 years of marriage,
And it turns into fertilizer for you.
Rocky, during the last couple of years, they just grew tired of each other. I mean, they loved us, but as far as them living together, they couldn't do it. They were better off being friends than living separately.
they divorced in 1978. Judy remarried 3 years later. Then, she and her new husband moved out of state, taking Howard's school-aged children with her. Howard remained single and focused on his work, fiercely devoted to his kids. He spent every holiday and summer vacation with them and made sure they were always well taken care of. In his will, he left everything he had to them.
Family was very important to Howard. He absolutely loved his kids and was as close as he could be, and would take every opportunity to do things with his kids.
The morning after Howard is found, investigators get on the phone with his ex-wife Judy to give her the sad news.
Oh my god, how?
My condolences, Mom.
Detectives question Judy about her relationship with her ex-husband, looking for any signs of resentment.
Ex-wives make a grudge, so of course we're looking at her. She basically said, they got along well with Howard.
It was an amicable parting. We parented the children together.
There was a little friction about the visitation right of the youngest child, but other than that, they got along pretty well.
I have to tell my kids.
statement is supported by those who knew Howard best.
Talking to the family, we did get no indication at all that there was really any deep animosity between the two of them.
While Howard's ex-wife is moved down the suspect list, investigators try to pin down the time of the shooting. They quickly learned that Howard was likely killed on March 21st, a day before his body was discovered.
We canvassed the area, and everyone that we talked to heard it, but everyone thought it was firecrackers. So nobody called in. Based on the information we have, we think the shooting occurred.
Still throw the Simberries out, I need them. I'm gonna go get one more dung beetle once it's daytime.
48 hours into the investigation, the crime scene has been fully searched with no new leads. All that's left to examine is a safe hidden in the corner of Howard's closet.
We called the guy that installed it. He told us that he told Mr. Whitkin to keep the combination in his wallet. We had since booked the wallet into evidence, so we got it out of evidence, and there was the combination.
Alright, so it's 10, 15, and back to 45. Well.
We opened a safe and found cocaine. There was over $7,000 in cash that would indicate that he maybe was dealing in cocaine.
Apparently, the friendly, unassuming Howard Whitkin may have had an alter ego.
As soon as we found the cocaine, that became #1 motive. He owed somebody some money, or someone tried to steal his cocaine.
Yeah.
Police talk with family members and discover that the one person who might know about Howard's secret stash is his closest friend, Philip Frandler.
What do you know about Howard dealing drugs? We found drugs in his house.
You're asking me, were we dealers? Was Howard a dealer? Where were we buying the drugs?
Did he owe anybody money that you know of, or a beef with anybody? No.
Frandler admits he and Howard did buy and sell small amounts of cocaine. A common recreation.
We all looked up to. I said we would buy an ounce of cocaine, sell it to just our friends, and that enabled us to have, a little for ourselves, kind of free, and provide a party atmosphere for others. It's very generous.
Frandler tells police that Howard had recently decided his drug days were over.
I got the feeling Howard was a little out of his element, just was not real happy in that lifestyle.
You alright?
I had no clue who did this to Howard. I was afraid to stay in my own home because I didn't know why this happened to Howard.
To my knowledge, I don't think he was into drugs that deep.
Frandler feels sure Howard's murder was not related to drugs, and the only lead he can offer is Howard's new girlfriend of 3 months, Candace Arias.
So you want to go play some cards tonight?
Yeah, it's my night off.
After the divorce, he did find a young lady there that he was very attracted to. Just looking up on
Yeah, you miss him?
Yeah, do it.
The sultry 31-year-old is an assistant manager at an upscale card club, which is where they met 3 months ago.
How are you doing?
I lost him. She showed him attention, and he liked her a lot, and she made him happy.
Candace quickly finds herself at the station requesting.
Yeah.
So can you tell me about Howard?
Howard was a really sweet guy.
Where were you the night that Howard was killed?
I was working.
I didn't detect anything that would indicate that she knew anything about it or was hiding anything from us.
When asked if she has any idea who might want Howard dead, she quickly offers up one name.
Duke's got a crazy temper.
51-year-old Duke Hardy is a stereo salesman and the married father of 2 young girls. He's also Candace's former lover.
What's up?
She'd been his mistress for 2 years after meeting him at the card club. He promised to leave his family for her, but never followed through, and Candace finally left him.
So do you think maybe he had something to do with it or was involved?
I wouldn't be surprised. Duke is a scary guy. He scared me plenty of times, and it is hard to scare me.
He beat the crap out of some guy for leaning on his car.
You don't want to be affected.
Did he have a problem with Howard?
Well, he wasn't happy about it.
Then you act like I ask for sex all the time.
It's not even that, Chris. I just want to be
Duke
like
is still a
kissy
regular
and
customer.
lovey-dovey.
And
The
Candace
more we're
claims that
kissy
he
and
wasn't shy
lovey-dovey,
about
the
making
more
his
I actually
dislike
want to
for
fuck.
Howard known.
But we're not
She
kissy and
recalls one
lovey-dovey, so I
incident between
don't
them
want.
just weeks before the murder.
I come in, I sit down at poker, and you got Candace all over you. Trying to throw it in my face, embarrass me in front of everybody, huh?
I'm not trying to embarrass you in front of anybody.
I was sorry, Howard.
Dude!
You don't know what you have coming.
There was friction between the two of them. They were dating the same girl, and love triangles were a big motivation for murders.
Candace then tosses one last item into the pool of suspicion surrounding Duke.
He had a .22. He had a weapon, same caliber as the murder weapon. Wasn't a love triangle thing going on. So, you know, we're taking a real good look at him.
Big problem.
In Santa Clara, California, beloved businessman and father of 3, Howard Whitkin, has been shot and killed in his own home. At the time of his death, Howard was dating Candace Arias, whose ex-boyfriend, Duke Hardy, is now under suspicion.
Check this out. I ran the rap sheet on Duke. Aggravated assault. Felony. 2 counts.
Yeah, he's got a couple counts.
Duke Hardy is called into the station.
I have some questions for you about Howard Whitkin.
Howard, what do you want me to tell you about him? You think I killed him? You're nuts.
When questioned about his whereabouts the night Howard was killed, Duke says he's got an alibi. He was at the Garden City Card Club.
All night?
Yep.
Do you own any guns?
Yeah, why?
Do you have a 22?
Yeah, I do.
We asked him if he had a 22 rifle, and he said he did, and he said that we'd be willing to surrender that to us, and we'll have to check it.
Look at this. Let me write out a receipt.
You guys happy?
Thanks for bringing it in, dude.
There you go. Thanks a lot.
Duke's gun is sent to the lab to be compared to the bullets recovered from Howard's body. In the meantime, detectives pay a visit to the Garden City Card Club to check on his alibi. No one has anything nice to say about quick-tempered Duke.
Saying that to me, but word-wise, he's a pretty jealous guy.
When police ask about Duke's whereabouts the night of the murder, nobody is willing to vouch for him.
Nobody recalled him being at the card club that night.
Duke was our best suspect at that point.
Duke sticks with his story that he was at the card club the night of March 21st. But a ballistics match to his rifle could be enough to put him away for murder. Then, results from the lab come in.
Oh, thanks, Jim.
We were able to confirm that that weapon that he had was not the murder weapon.
But investigators aren't quite finished with Duke Hardy.
Did you kill Howard Whitkin?
No. We polygraphed him because maybe had another rifle. I don't know. He gave us a 22. Maybe had a second 22.
Do you know who killed Howard Whitkin?
No.
Got the results of the polygraph that you were looking for.
Oh, thank you, Alfred. He passed blind colors, yeah.
The investigator's best suspect drops down the list. Police have spent days talking to dozens of people, and yet they're still no closer to identifying Howard's killer or even a motive for his murder.
If I'm being man that my father was, and the smart side because his family and all the friends that he had, why would he have any enemies?
3 days after the homicide, a memorial service is held for Howard in Santa Clara.
Howard had a ex-husband?
No. Can't think of anybody.
All of Howard's friends and family grapple with that same question and come up empty. Then, 5 days into the investigation, Howard's best friend, Philip Frandler, comes to the station with a new lead. He tells detectives about a man he'd introduced to Howard a few months ago, named Everett Normandy. Everett just let it slip to Philip that he was at Howard's house the night of the murder.
And you think he might be the guy? I think there's a good chance.
26-year-old Everett is an aspiring artist who'd recently moved to California from Hawaii, where he became friends with both Philip and Howard.
Oh, you have a Joker. Wait a second. Wait a second. I was at my house for about 2 months, living in Western. And finally I realized that this was not working. I just need like $500.
Philip and Howard quickly realized Everett was just using them to borrow money he never intended to pay back.
I'm not giving you a dime.
And when he didn't get what he wanted,
I'm cutting you off. No, you're cutting me off.
Things got ugly.
Tell you what, no. Give me the $500. Give me the $500. Everett just flipped out.
And now, the desperate freeloader has admitted to Philip that he was at Howard's around the time of the murder.
Hello? Hey, Howard? Everett.
Investigators quickly pull Everett Normandy in for questioning.
When was the last time you saw Howard?
The first words out of Everett's mouth appear to be a bald-faced lie.
A few weeks ago. A few weeks ago?
He says that he didn't see Howard that night because he was at a party in Berkeley, 45 minutes away.
And your friends up there, they'll back you up on this story?
Yeah, of course.
He gave us names of people that he was at a party with. So I called these witnesses and asked them where he was the night of the murder.
He was with you the whole time?
Yes, he was with us all night long.
You're sure about this?
Well, I'm thinking that somebody's lying here.
Do you want a kiss? I can't really do that right now. I'm trying to tame you.
At the top of the suspect list is Everett Normandy. Everett told police that he was nowhere near Howard's that night, but in a phone call to Philip Frandler, he said just the opposite.
I didn't. What? I would not kill Howard over. I had nothing to do with this.
Now, in an interrogation room, Everett is forced to come clean with detectives.
Look, you're facing a murder charge here.
That's right. I was at Howard's house that night. I went down to buy some coke, okay? Your friends said you were with them the whole time. Why would they lie? My friends were just covering for me. They thought I would get in trouble. Maybe Howard didn't give it to you, got pissed off? But no, I didn't buy the coke from Howard.
He says Howard told him he wasn't selling anymore, and Everett went to the party empty-handed. This was at 7:30 p.m., hours before the shooting.
I wouldn't kill Howard. Why would I kill Howard? I liked Howard.
So then I say, would you mind taking a polygraph to confirm that you had nothing to do with the killing?
Did you kill Howard Whitcomb?
No.
But before the examiner can report back on Everett's polygraph results, the case is suddenly upended in the next room.
Detectives. Call came from Michigan State Police, basically saying, listen, do you have any unsolved shootings recently?
Yeah, we do have a case right now for a Howard Whitcomb.
The Michigan officer says he's just talking with a man who has inside information that could blow the case wide open. Investigators jump on a plane to Michigan, where they meet the informant, Fred Vernon, the manager of a diner
You motherfucker.
What was an employee of mine?
He says one of his busboys, 22-year-old Gary Oliver, recently returned from a week-long vacation in California.
Hey, what you doing, man? Sorry, man. Where'd you get all that color, guy? I was just out in California doing a job. No, really? Yeah. What kind of job?
just one of those, like, jobs.
Oliver told the manager that he had been hired for $10,000 to go to California and kill somebody.
I mean, like, take care of him, or like, take care of him? What? You get paid? Like, yeah. 10 grand.
Oliver said he drove out to California with a high school friend, 20-year-old Andrew Granger, and the two of them assassinated a businessman named Howard Witkin.
Wow. He was bragging about it. I figured I should tell you guys, you know?
Did he tell you who hired him?
No, he didn't tell me. Gary Oliver? Yeah, who wants to know?
We're detectives from California. We're here to talk to you about the Howard Witkin murder.
Yeah, you heard me.
Santa Clara detectives pulled Gary Oliver.
Turn around now, sir.
Into a Michigan police station.
Cleo, meow if you understand.
Look, we know you were involved. Well, if you know, why are you asking me?
He was scared. He was on probation for breaking and entering the petty crime.
Aha, there you go.
We advised him his constitutional rights. Then he said, I want to talk to an attorney.
Yeah.
We said, okay, and that was the end of that.
All right, we're going to go talk to Andrew. Let's go.
Investigators move next door to question Oliver's alleged accomplice, Andrew Granger, who's been picked up by local police. Unlike Gary Oliver, Andrew Granger has no criminal record and is more than happy to talk.
Gary comes to me. Says this guy named Mr. Big has told him that he wants him to go kill this guy.
Granger seemed to really enjoy, being questioned because he was very animated. He sort of enjoyed the fact that he was the focus of my attention at that time.
I told him that I was just going to drive. How much? How much would this be?
I'll give you half.
Gary Oliver told him, we're going to get paid $5,000 to kill this guy, and I'll give you $2,500, which of course was a lie because they were being paid $10,000, but Andy didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's got to be a shotgun. He's like as close as that chair. Boom. That's it.
Oliver never revealed who hired him, and Granger didn't care.
Are we serious?
Yeah.
All right.
For the next hour, Granger recounts what he calls his California adventure.
You never left Michigan?
Huh? Not once. It's my first time.
Congratulations. I would live in California.
They left on Tuesday, March 18th, planning to take turns at the wheel so they could drive the 2,400 miles straight through. Granger says they were halfway there when Oliver realized that he'd messed up.
Oh, dude.
What?
I forgot the bullets.
You forgot the shells.
I forgot the bullets for the gun.
So they decided to stop and buy some shotgun shells, but they were afraid that there would be a record of the transaction that would tie them to the murders.
Because when you go to buy shotgun shells, they register you at the store.
They never had a clue that any idiot can walk in and buy a box of shotgun shells. Nobody cares. They only care about guns, not ammunition. But these guys didn't know that.
You know what? I bought a 22. It'll be fine. I got it. So, I said it's probably a better idea to just use the 22.
On March 20th, Oliver and Granger arrived in Santa Clara and headed straight to Howard Witkin's townhouse. They cased the neighborhood, circling the block again and again, until they felt confident enough to put their plan into action the following day.
Everything's going good. It's all going according to plan. Then we break down.
Please start the car, man.
How many feet of more feet?
Which is a cheap car. It's going to go when he dies in a parking lot at the mall.
With their target just 4 miles away, the two would-be assassins are without a clue how to get the job done.
We're stuck here. Guns in the back.
It's not my fault. I don't know anything to do.
Anybody need some help? I'm a mechanic.
Yes.
Tom Massiola had just happened to be in the parking lot and came over and offered assistance to somebody who obviously was in trouble.
Try it.
Damn, it looks like your timing chain could be broken.
You were just supposed to be passing through, dude. We have a job to do tomorrow.
That's gonna take at least a day's work. You gotta go into the engine, open everything up. You know, if you need a place to stay just for a day, you can stay at my place.
Oliver and Granger take Maciolik up on his offer.
So what are you guys doing out here?
Can't really say. Just a job.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of job?
I gotta kill somebody.
You serious?
Yeah, we're serious. Yeah.
The key of this is to cuddle with me.
How about
Hey. You don't bite.
What exactly do you need me to do?
Granger said, lend us your car. We said, no, you're not having my car.
No.
And he said, well, how about driving us?
All you gotta do is drive up to the house. Bang, bang.
So you guys just need a lift?
They promised $1,000 if you would drive them there. Where they didn't have the cash on them, they said, it's good faith, we'll just give you the shotgun, which is worth $250.
Yeah? I'm in.
So, that night,
Granger says that on the night of March 21st, Maciolik drove them over to Howard Whitkin's neighborhood in his Toyota.
He said they parked about a block away and Oliver got out of the car.
Hey,
He then
you
came
don't
back
bite.
a little later, said
You
the
keep
job was
biting, I'm
done.
gonna bite you back. Lay
Come on,
down.
it's done, it's done. Go, 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 go.
Gary got out of the car and he shot.
Yeah, Gary shot.
The one piece of the puzzle that investigators need most, however, is still missing.
Who's the guy who paid you?
You're gonna become Chris's problem, and Chris is not gonna like that. He's gonna be
Andy did not know who Mr. Big was, and that was a critical factor. The only guy who knew was Gary Oliver.
And Oliver isn't talking.
You have 7 marbles too high for the way.
Santa Clara homicide detectives have flown from California to Flint, Michigan to interview 2 men who allegedly carried out the contract killing of businessman Howard Whitkin. Andrew Granger has told police all about his murderous trip.
Gary pops it 3 times. Pop, pop, pop.
His accomplice, Gary Oliver, has been sitting silently in the adjacent interrogation room. Luckily for police, the wall between them is paper thin.
Oliver heard Andy talking. I guess he thought Andy was implicating him more than he wanted to be implicated. So he contacted us and said he wants to talk now.
He told you that I shot him? That's not true.
What is true?
He gave the same story exactly as Granger did.
I didn't want to drive out to California by myself, so I asked Andrew to come with me.
Ran into this guy, Tom.
Except who got out of the car and actually killed Whitkin.
Andrew got out. I heard the gunshots, and I didn't shoot anybody.
Realizing he's
No, you
already
are.
in too deep, Oliver doesn't just sell out his friend Granger.
Who's the guy who paid you?
Who's my boss?
He's your boss.
He's my boss.
He's the one
Yeah,
who paid
take
you
talk
10
to
grand.
Chris.
Yeah, he's going
Talk
to
to
pay
Dad.
me 10 grand. It's an installment plan.
You murdered somebody on an installment plan?
$500
You're
a
making me
month.
break my voice box.
Installments.
Talk to Dad.
What's your boss's name?
My boss, Bob Singer, is my boss.
Bob Singer, the owner of the Onion Crock restaurant where Oliver works. At first
Girl, you better
glance,
stop.
Singer is far from anyone's image of Mr. Big. He's a 46-year-old businessman, originally
No.
from California.
No.
Married to employees at the Onion Crock as a
You want to get put away?
who could never turn a profit. But Singer does have one very direct connection to the victim, Howard Whitkin. He's the husband of Judy Whitkin, Howard's ex-wife.
You're
was a surprise because the focus of the investigation still revolved around Howard's association with Garden City Card Club out in California.
What?
Oliver was an employee of Singer's restaurant, and obviously he was somebody that Singer had talked to.
He's somebody to take care of somebody, if you know what I mean. Like a hit. Maybe he might know somebody who could help me out, you know.
You need somebody to go kill.
Yeah.
Somebody?
Yeah. And Oliver decided that he would be that person.
You'll pay 10 grand to do that?
Yeah.
10 grand. It's just a simple job. One hit.
Yeah, maybe I could.
So you'll do it then, yeah? Yeah? Come on.
Singer is arrested and questioned about the homicide.
Listen, we interviewed Gary Oliver and Andrew Granger. They told us all about it.
Said you hired him and gave him $10,000 to go out to California and kill your wife's ex-husband.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
After only a few minutes,
nope.
Singer
Out of
refuses to
here.
answer any more questions.
He had an attorney, and an attorney advised him not to speak to police.
But an investigation into Singer's background quickly reveals the motive wasn't love or hate, but one just as timeless.
He was having financial difficulties for this restaurant. Things weren't going well. He was trying to get a $300,000 loan.
Desperate for cash, Singer saw Howard
You're gonna be a cuddler
as his
whether
way
you
out.
want to be or not.
With Howard dead,
I'm not chew on my
his 3
cord.
children would inherit a fortune.
These are minor children. You can't give the minor children $300,000. So Bob, who had managed the money, and I'm sure Bob planned to funnel some of that money into
Should
business.
be if I find one again.
When Judy finds out her husband is
Trying to get a level
suspect,
140.
she's stunned. She insists that if Bob was having serious financial problems, he would have told her.
He always just said he would take care of us, and he always has.
Judy refuses to believe her mild-mannered husband could orchestrate the cold-blooded assassination of Howard, the father of her children.
No, never. Never.
She stands by her man, retaining the services of a high-powered defense attorney to contest the charges.
Thanks a lot. Okay. We'll see you soon.
No biting.
In July of 1980, Santa Clara
Yeah,
three murder charges against Oliver
Good
and
girl.
The mechanic,
No,
Tom
no.
Masciola, is apprehended
No.
in California and charged with being an accessory to
No.
Gary Oliver and Tom Masciola
Good
plead guilty to lesser
girl.
offenses. Andy Granger is convicted. Gary Oliver now having
In 1982, Bob Singer was convicted of orchestrating the contract killing of Howard Whitkin. He's been quietly serving his time in a maximum security
Because the
cell
sooner I
for
get
2
this done, the
years
better.
when he gets a call from his appeals attorney.
Yeah, what do you want?
Some good news and some bad news.
Give me the bad news.
That was on fire.
The attorney has discovered handwritten
That was on
letters deep in the files
Yeah,
of
it's a
Singer's
man telling me jumping out of lava.
They describe a lurid affair between Gantz and a married woman, Singer's wife, Judy.
Now that's really bizarre.
Damn it.
You've got this guy who was literally on trial for his life, and his wife is sleeping with his lawyer.
Well, I spoke to the judge.
Bob is facing a death penalty. So what better thing to do if you're having an affair with the wife is let the guy get convicted and get the death penalty, and he's out of the picture. No divorce, no bother, and anything.
The illicit affair between Bob's wife and his lawyer creates the ultimate conflict of interest. Armed with this scandalous information, Bob and his new attorney file an appeal, arguing that he didn't get a fair trial. In 1990, 10 years after the murder, his original conviction is
Bitch, you
dismissed
better
and
stay
he's granted
there.
a new trial. But this time, Bob makes a deal. In return for a lighter sentence,
Danny, are you
he'll plead
coming?
guilty to murder.
This is the first time he has
Yeah.
ever admitted that he was guilty. He'd always denied it.
In addition, he'll expose a secret he planned to take to his grave. This whole time, he's been
Hold on.
protecting the real mastermind behind Howard Whitkin's murder. His wife, Judy.
So what about Howard?
No.
life's better?
It's not that simple, you know?
Judy wanted Howard Whitkin dead. Bob was being pressured into it by Judy. He didn't really want to do it.
You wouldn't have to do it.
What do you mean?
You know people.
The motivation was money. Judy was always about the money. And Howard came from a very wealthy family. He was worth over $1 million.
Do you know how much stress he's put me through with the kids?
The other thing was, Howard had recently filed in court to have full custody of the children to be awarded to him.
Yeah.
And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Judy could not have that.
Everything would be better if we took care of Howard.
There's got to be a better way. It's got to be a better way.
Bob moved to Michigan, where he didn't know a soul, with Judy and the children. He started a business there, a restaurant, but he wasn't very good at it because he'd never run a restaurant before. And Judy's telling him,
You want to stay married to me?
What's that supposed to mean?
Look, if you don't do it, I'm going to leave you.
Leave me?
And he's thinking, if that happens, not only I lose Judy, I lose the kids, I lose everything.
I mean, I'm done with this. I've asked you, I've told you, I've hinted at it. Do you know how much money Howard is worth?
I know how much money he's worth.
He doesn't deserve to be alive.
And she pressured him into it and said, I want him dead, I want him dead. And Bob was a weak-willed individual and gave in.
Okay. I'll do it.
Singer spent 2 long years in prison before learning of his wife's betrayal. And now he's done being her patsy.
After Bob told the story about how he and Judy had set up this killing, the police set up a phone call from Bob to Judy.
Hello?
Judy.
Bob.
And that was so that Bob could accuse her on the phone and see if she would make an admission.
I don't know how they found out.
Philo.
Philo?
Yeah.
Bob, this is strange for you to be able to call me.
Judy's a very smart person. And right off the bat, she was suspicious, and you could tell because she kept asking him, Bob, who's paying for this phone call? Because as far as she knew, he was in prison, serving life without parole, and you don't get to make phone calls unless somebody else pays for it.
They're putting pressure on me, you know.
Down, go down.
I don't know what to do.
You know, I need to go, Bob.
And she hung up. It doesn't prove anything in itself, but I think it shows a consciousness of guilt. Because she never denies. I think an innocent person's reaction, what are you talking about? I had nothing to do with this.
Is it on me?
Instead, it's like, I don't like the way this phone call is going. What's not to like unless he's getting close to the truth?
Howard's oldest daughter, Marie, saw through her mother's lies from the very beginning. 6 years after the murder, she was 19 years old, estranged from Judy, and living with her boyfriend.
I had just told the story about my father being murdered, and that I thought that my mom did it.
He was skeptical, so she came up with a way to prove it to him by making an anonymous phone call to Judy.
What's the phone number?
616. Hello?
Judith.
I know what you did.
I was waiting to find out what she had said on the other end of the line.
Who is this?
What kind is that?
I'm going to call the cops.
How much money will it take to shut you up?
He was so shocked when my mother said those words to him. He didn't know what else to say to her but to hang up the phone. And he said, holy, you know what?
If you give me a minute, I'll have this one tamed here in a second. I'll have you take this one home. And then I got a level 100 that just popped up right here that I'm going to tame.
With
Instead of
Singer's
150.
testimony and the incriminating phone calls, police have enough to issue an arrest warrant for Judy.
I think that's the 150.
She's extradited back to California to stand trial for murder. She dumped Alan Gantz, her lawyer boyfriend, right after Bob's conviction. So she retains the services of a new attorney to defend her. But nothing can save Judy Singer. On November 2nd, 1994, after a 2.5-month trial, Judy Singer is found guilty of first-degree murder.
I know as a kid, I can remember people always talking about, oh, she's so beautiful. You know, she always dresses so appropriately. She always looks so elegant. Hair done, makeup, nails, the whole bit. She's like the woman next door. All-American wife. Who would look at her and be like, she just murdered her ex-husband?
Judy's conviction brings some relief to Howard's family, but it can never heal their wounds.
My dad's spirit will always be with me. I carry him with me.
Thank you.
There's not a moment that goes by that I don't think about my dad.
Izzy, come here.
Come here.
It's hard going on without him.
Did I get a fresh pop today? If not, it's okay.
You can drink that one that I got if you want.
It's okay. I'll drink you.
I'm just trying to buy the cheaper pop so I can make it last when money lasts.
Right. I took you down much further. Izzy, come here. Come here. Isabella. Here, baby, I'll help you. Come here, I'll help you. Come here.
Come on.
Come here, baby. Izzy, come here. Izzy, come. Izzy, come.
On a clear Sunday afternoon, a freight train rolls across America's heartland. As it snakes through downtown Columbus, Ohio, the engineer catches a startling glimpse of something in the thick brush next to the track.
Need to get someone out here right away.
Look like you were running around.
Homicide detective Pat Barr is among the first on the scene.
The decedent was a female white. Her hair was kind of fanned out in a fan above her head. There were some sort of injuries to the back of her head. There was some blood spatter, which indicated that it was a pretty hard blow.
Well, hello, Izzy.
There's also a pronounced bruise on the side of her neck.
Can we get a swab on that right there, too?
She had socks and tennis shoes on, a bra that was around her neck but unsnapped, and nothing else.
The rest of her clothing is nowhere to be found.
Because she was unclothed, it was probably a sexual-related crime.
Yeah, probably gonna
Detectives are well acquainted with this desolate stretch
I
next to
wasn't expecting
Columbus's
to find a
River Street.
150 out of nowhere.
I think she's a prostitute.
Okay.
This was an area where prostitutes frequently brought their johns to do their transactions.
I don't know. Someone would have taken this jewelry.
Unlike his colleagues, Detective Barr is not convinced and makes a case to his superiors.
The decedent appeared to be early 20s, late teens, very clean, some jewelry, earrings, and I believe a ring, well manicured nails. It was clear to me that this was not a prostitute and was maybe a student.
Okay.
His hunch is soon confirmed. A young co-ed at Ohio State University 5 miles away has just been reported missing by her friend.
I asked them to describe what the student looked like and the clothing that she was wearing. Their description that they gave me on the phone matched the description of the decedent lying in the field, right down to the tennis shoes and the color of the trim on the tennis shoes she was wearing.
She's identified as 18-year-old Ohio State freshman Stephanie Hummer.
They tell me that they found her by some railroad tracks. I just cried. I just cried for days. That's how it changes your world. Because, you know, one minute your best friend is there, and the next minute she's gone.
Stephanie's parents live 100 miles away in a Cincinnati suburb.
I remember getting a call kind of late in the day that suggested that we ought to come to Columbus.
Can you bring me more food,
They
please?
think they found Stephanie.
Yes, and poop.
They took us to
Food
the county
and poop.
morgue and reviewed Stephanie through this glass case.
Dude.
We couldn't touch her.
I have to tie your
Because she
feet
was
in there, man. You don't want to
evidence.
do that right now.
The oldest of 3 children, Stephanie Hummer was raised in Finneytown, Ohio, where she had just graduated high school a year before.
What do you got? 1, 2, 3,
Stephanie
4,
was a
5,
very
6.
self-confident person.
At least
an
12
outgoing,
poos.
bubbly personality, made friends very easily.
How much you gonna need?
She was active in everything. She was involved in
I don't
sports,
know.
and we went camping all the time. She did our yearbook.
She also worked afternoons and weekends
No, I'll
as a
need
golf
it.
caddy. That experience landed her a full scholarship at Ohio
We'll
State
give the
University
lower one
as an
away or
Evans
we'll
Scholar,
kill it.
an award given to golf caddies with outstanding academic records.
Okay, but they're not high level. They can't hold a lot of poop.
Landscape architecture.
Jeez.
Having Stephanie as a roommate was like a breath of fresh air. You could be in a bad mood and she would lift up your spirits. She just didn't have an enemy. No one could think of anyone that would want to hurt her.
Since Stephanie was a college student, the university sends one of its own detectives.
It was a very secluded area. There was no blood. There were no evidentiary items. We looked for possibly a tool, an implement that was used.
We should have enough.
We found none. And it was just the way the brush was bent over and broken, and you can tell that someone had run into the brush.
The path of trampled brush leads directly from the nearest road over 60 feet away. Police suspect this is where the killer parked his vehicle before chasing Stephanie into the field.
My first impression in looking at it, that it was probably a homicide out of a sex crime. After the sexual assault occurred, she probably got away somehow and began running and was caught by her assailant in that area.
There are no homes or buildings in the immediate area surrounding the crime scene. The only visible structure is a tall TV tower a mile away. During the autopsy, the coroner recovers semen from the rape. He also identifies the fresh bruise on Stephanie's neck as a hickey. And when swabbed, it tests positive for male saliva. Time of death is placed somewhere between 3 and 6 that morning. To find out when and where Stephanie was last seen alive, detectives turned to her 2 childhood best friends, Evelyn Boyden and Harper Givens.
No, I mean, I've known her since we were kids. I know everything about her, so.
Both attend colleges in other towns, but it's spring break, so they're visiting Stephanie, staying with her at the dorm.
Yeah, no, she seemed happy and normal.
They tell police that on Saturday night, they were all hanging out in Stephanie's room at the Evans Scholar House. Around midnight, 2 male OSU students, Dayton Marshall and Tate Litchfield, stopped by. The 18-year-olds were both freshmen and knew Stephanie and her friends from high school.
Everybody always had a crush on Dayton because he was so cute. It was like a kind of a
Best place to stay is on the side.
Tate was like mild and a little more quiet.
On the side of him. And look under him.
Talked late into the night,
The best way.
sharing their first impressions of college. Then, just after 2 a.m., Dayton and Tate invited the girls back to a party at their place.
You guys ready to get going? Yeah, come on. Yeah.
Great. Stephanie is game. She's like, okay, let's go.
When we get to my place, we can still have a great time.
But halfway there, Stephanie's friends had a change of heart.
You know, I'm actually kind of tired.
What?
Yeah. And we have to wake up early tomorrow.
Yeah, why don't I walk you guys home?
Stephanie volunteered to walk her friends back to her dorm and meet up with the boys later.
Okay.
How much do you
Bye,
have?
guys. Thanks for walking us back.
Get a couple more.
Outside the dorm, Stephanie said goodbye to her friends and headed out into the night around 2:30 a.m.
Yeah. We didn't think anything of it. We would just see her the next morning.
Was there anything odd about the way Stephanie was acting? Did she feel preoccupied?
It just seemed like another night we were all just hanging out. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
Harper stated that the last time she saw her, Stephanie was going in a southwesterly direction, which would be towards Pearl Alley.
Pearl Alley provided a straight shot to the residence of the two young male students, Dayton Marshall and Tate Litchfield. So police pay a visit to the 18-year-olds to find out what happened once Stephanie arrived. Dayton claims she never showed up that night.
So I just kind of figured she crashed, she passed out. How well do you know Stephanie?
You know, we're friends. It was established they were not boyfriend, girlfriend, but just friends.
Throughout his interview, Dayton has been nursing an injured hand.
What happened to your hand? Got it cut climbing some fences yesterday with my roommate. We were taking a shortcut back to our place, and at the top of the fence, my hand just got cut, and it slid on the top and sliced it open.
To detectives, the injury is a little too coincidental. Perhaps Stephanie did make it to Dayton's house, where things got out of control and exploded in a fury of rape and murder.
Ow! Stop it.
Dayton could have then dumped her near River Street, 4 miles away, just to throw police off the scent, knowing it was a notoriously bad part of town.
We stayed up really late waiting for Stephanie, but she just never showed.
Investigators talked to Tate Litchfield, who repeats his buddy's account, almost word for word. He even backs Dayton up on the story of the cut hand.
We were taking
okay, Dayton, just keep doing other shit.
Dayton cut his hand open on the top of the fence that we were climbing over, so we just went back and bandaged it up.
Police also questioned Dayton and Tate's other roommates.
All of the boys, when asked if they would take a polygraph or would they give blood for DNA, we had no issues with that at all. All their stories were very, very consistent. None of them exhibited any behavior which would lead you to believe that they were involved.
But appearances can be deceiving. When the lab processes DNA evidence from Stephanie's body, they quickly get a hit on saliva recovered from the hickey on Stephanie's neck.
It was really shocking to find out who it was.
Just after 2:30 a.m. on a warm spring night, 18-year-old college freshman Stephanie Hummer was headed to a party near the Ohio State University campus. She never made it. Instead, she was found naked and bludgeoned to death 4 miles away in a desolate field. The forensic lab has just identified male saliva recovered from a fresh hickey on Stephanie's neck, and it belongs to 18-year-old OSU student Dayton Marshall.
Nope. Probably. But I can't stop. I have no food or nothing.
Dayton insisted he and
I'm about to die.
Stephanie were never romantic. Now, confronted with DNA
Go there and see if you can finish taming it. What are you doing?
We fooled around a few times, but we never went all the way, and we were never in a relationship.
When was the last time that you guys fooled around?
What?
On that night.
That night you
fooled around? I don't think you.
Dayton Marshall
I don't think you are. Go keep going for me.
Had been making out and kissing at Evans Scholar House.
He claims it was while everyone was hanging out at Stephanie's dorm earlier in the evening, before they left for the party, and long before she disappeared.
Did you rape her?
No, sir. No, sir.
Did you murder her?
No, sir.
Then the lab reports back on semen from Stephanie's rape.
His DNA did not match the semen samples from the victim, so he was eliminated as a suspect.
The other male students from Dayton's frat house are also eliminated based on their DNA samples. That leaves investigators at a standstill, with no viable suspects less than a week into the case. In Finneytown, where Stephanie grew up, her friends and family gather for a touching tribute to her short life.
Funerals are a time of sadness, but it's also a time at which you do get everybody together and you can kind of celebrate and say, okay, here are the good times. The place was jammed. The Finneytown High School Orchestra was playing and the chorus was involved.
We graduated in a class of about 100, and I think everybody was probably there. It was really a bittersweet reunion.
She was everyone's best friend. She was just so sweet and innocent, always smiling, never complaining. Just a really outgoing, fun girl.
Back at Ohio State University, fear and panic have shot through the campus like a bullet.
I felt like I was in a horror movie or something. It seemed like a dream that was just happening when you think you're going to wake up.
Columbus PD enlists the help of several other law enforcement agencies, including the FBI. They blanket the community in the search for clues to Stephanie's attacker.
Yes, Madison's calling.
Okay, and what's the phone number that you're calling from?
We had a tip line set up very early on this one. They were coming in fast and furious. You would get to your desk in the morning and there'd be 25 or 30 messages.
Several tipsters report seeing a license plate, and the descriptions are too generic to follow up on. Then a call comes in from a Cincinnati man named Blake Wong.
Detective Barr, I might have some information on the Stephanie Hummer case.
He advised us of a gentleman who had confessed to him that he'd committed the homicide.
Blake tells detectives that an old high school friend named Anton Corian was visiting him at his Cincinnati apartment in the days following Stephanie's murder. Corian is a student at a seminary school 10 miles north of the OSU campus, where he's studying to become a Catholic priest. The two men were swapping stories when Anton suddenly brought up the subject of Stephanie Hummer's murder.
So what do you think about that girl on the news? Oh, yeah. It's crazy. That's so sad. I was at OSU that night. You were there? I need to know that I can trust you because you're my best friend. Because I got something big I want to tell you. Go ahead and just lay it on me. I killed that girl. Quit playing, bro. Quit playing.
Blake didn't take his friend seriously. But the following day, Anton repeated his confession.
And I need you to keep your mouth shut. This is our secret, okay?
Anton Corian gave very detailed description of where he picked her up, where he took her, and how she was killed.
I killed her in a field by a tower. Blake, you can't tell anybody.
Anton made a comment about he could see the lights on the tower, and that's what piqued my interest on him. From where Stephanie was killed, WBNS TV's towers, which go up probably, 250, 300 feet, are lit, and those are one of the few lights you could see from where her body was.
Before they bring Anton in for questioning, investigators asked Blake to arrange one more conversation with his friend.
We asked him if he could audio tape a phone
You
call.
didn't fucking see it. Fuck it.
Hello? Hey, Anton, it's Blake. I had a quick question about that thing that we talked about the other day. You haven't told anybody, have you? No. Dude, I just can't quit thinking about it.
After hanging up, Blake summons Detective Barr to his home.
Is this a tape? Yep.
Blake hits play, and in a cold, disembodied voice,
Dude, I'm trusting you not to tell anybody.
the seminary student reveals his unforgivable secret. In the case of the savage attack on college freshman Stephanie Hummer, police have an audio recording of seminary student Anton Corian confessing to her rape and murder.
I need to talk about it with someone.
phone call, Anton confesses again to exactly verbatim what Blake Long had told us he told him on 2 prior occasions.
I raped her and I killed her.
With that recorded evidence in hand, investigators pull Anton into the precinct.
So what's your relationship with Stephanie Hummer?
I don't know her.
Your buddy Blake came to us and mentioned that you had a few details about Stephanie's death.
First he denied, that he'd ever talked to anybody.
I don't remember what I said, all right?
But then he admitted that he told his friend that he killed Stephanie.
Listen, man, we got drunk. I was joking. Listen, I did not think I would land in any trouble. I wanted to scare him.
He said it was all a joke. He was pulling his leg.
I see something on the news. I recreate it.
The information he had provided to his friend, he had obtained from the media, from newspapers, from television.
Yep, I just want to get the fuck out of here.
He was just repeating and then guessing about the rest of the part.
I ran my mouth to a friend, and I did it in the wrong place, wrong time. That's it.
Anton's description of the TV tower lights at the crime scene came from his frequent nighttime visits to that area, which is known for prostitution.
I will do anything to get me out of jail. I'll take the DNA.
His DNA is fast-tracked at the lab, and it confirms that his repeated confessions were all made up.
He was subsequently cleared in Stephanie's death, and that was the end of the investigation concerning him. Why he would pull his friend's leg on something this serious, God knows, but he did.
As the deluge of tips continues to flood police phone lines, detectives review their list of known criminals. There's no DNA match to anyone already in the system, but that database is still very limited. So they search for someone who shares the MO of Stephanie's killer.
Rodney Hastings.
It doesn't take long for a promising lead to emerge.
Been incarcerated for kidnapping?
An auto mechanic named Rodney Hastings has a record of attempted abductions in the campus area.
Ohio State University campus, Ohio State University campus, Ohio State University campus.
He had on at least 2 occasions attempted to abduct females walking on a bike path. One of them.
What kind of egg was that? Was that a fire and ice?
Was subsequently
Is that ice, right?
And went to prison for kidnapping and attempted rape.
He served 2 years of a 10-year sentence and has been out since December 1983.
It was clear that there was a pattern in his life that would fit something like Stephanie's death, but we did not have any DNA on file for him. This is our guy. He worked for a transportation company that was located on the west side, very close to where Stephanie's body was found.
Hastings' company also owns a large fleet of white vans, just like the one several witnesses had seen prowling through the OSU campus around the time of the murder.
We opened a full-blown investigation.
What the hell are you?
A couple of personal friends of this subject.
One of them is Hastings' co-worker at the transportation company.
You mind if I ask you a couple questions about your co-worker?
Fucking gonna kill my ass, you piece of shit.
The co-worker says Hastings would brag about using the company van for
If
a
I
sick
can get it through
game
this
he'd like
shop,
to
I'll be
play with
fine.
women on campus.
It was so much fun.
We were told that he would frequently go to the campus area. He would stop girls and tell them he was a police detective.
I'm gonna need you to come here.
And he would pat them down, feel them up.
Spread your legs.
According to his co-worker, on some nights, Hastings took the van to indulge in other sexual exploits.
Mr. Hastings frequented prostitutes on the west side, which would make him quite familiar with the River Street address where Stephanie's body was found.
That's a nice
The circumstantial evidence is piling up on Hastings, but it's nothing compared to what detectives learned from Hastings' co-worker and ex-girlfriend, Lorraine Pinsky.
What's your relationship with Rodney Hastings?
We don't have a relationship.
When we talked to her, she was very concerned that she wanted absolutely nothing to do with him.
Lorraine admits she went out with Hastings until she learned about his criminal record, and says he didn't react well to the breakup.
Do you think Rodney has something to do with Stephanie?
Well, that's what we're looking into, so...
Lorraine then reveals a surprising coincidence. She happens to live in the same building as Stephanie Hummer.
I bumped into her a few times. I don't think we ever really spoke all that much. Have a good one. Have a good night.
Which means Rodney Hastings would have had ample opportunity to cross paths with Stephanie, and after being rejected by Lorraine, may have targeted the young freshman the night of the murder. 10 hours after college freshman Stephanie Hummer was seen walking to a friend's party, the 18-year-old was found stripped and bludgeoned to death in a wooded field 4 miles from campus. Convicted kidnapper Rodney Hastings has just shot to the top of the suspect list.
The guy's a known dirtbag around town. Drives a white van.
After doing all the interviews and the information about the van and Mr. Hastings' history, we determined we had enough for a search warrant.
Hastings' white work van is seized and searched.
One of the things that we found were police-style handcuffs.
If I could have just fed it that food,
they also find a stolen handgun hidden under the front seat. Fingerprints are lifted and the surfaces are swabbed for blood. As those samples are rushed to the lab, Rodney Hastings is interrogated.
You know this area, you have access to a van, you've been known to stalk, and a young woman was murdered.
I'm not going to admit to killing this girl because I didn't.
We asked him to take a polygraph test, which he refused.
Those tests are garbage. They don't prove anything, and I'm not going to submit to something that I know might indicate I did something that I did not do. I want to talk to my attorney.
About that time, we were notified by the desk that an attorney had showed up.
It won't matter. Police already have a legal warrant to take his DNA.
The DNA was tested immediately.
They're confident it's all they'll need to conclusively tie Hastings to Stephanie's murder.
Rodney Hastings' DNA excluded him as a possible suspect in this crime.
There's also no trace evidence of Stephanie ever being in Hastings' work van. No fingerprints, no blood, no DNA. Hastings may be guilty of many things, but raping, then murdering Stephanie Hummer isn't one of them.
I went into that to solve this case. I came back and was negative. I was disappointed.
Several weeks go by with no new developments. Stephanie's family refuses to give up, so they reach out to the media and make a desperate plea for anyone with information to break their silence.
You know, if we're going to keep this world decent at all, we're going to have to keep trying. So somebody knows something, they need to come and tell the rest of us.
I've got to believe somebody saw something, somebody heard something, somebody knows something.
The city responds, flooding police phone lines with new tips. Each one is pursued, but they all go nowhere. Then, in November 1995, a year and a half after the murder, a phone call from an unlikely source reignites the investigation.
We received a Crime Stoppers tip from a subject identified as Jermaine Espinoza, who was an inmate at the Pickaway prison.
The Pickaway Correctional Institution is 15 miles south of where Stephanie's lifeless body was recovered.
I read your name in the paper. You're on the case for Stephanie Hummer, right?
Jermaine Espinoza is the instructor of the prison's GED accreditation class.
Gotta write it down, it's gonna be on the test, man.
One of his students is 29-year-old Frank Zayden.
Listen,
Mr. Espinoza gave us information concerning Frank Zayden, believing that Mr. Zayden was responsible for the homicide of Stephanie Hummer.
And he's been talking about
Her saying that he killed her.
He admits to the murder of Stephanie Hummer?
He said that he hit her over the head, killed her with a brick, and left her body in a field next to some towers or something.
be able to get more from him? Would you be able to possibly get it in writing?
I could try. Espinoza is eager to work with detectives, perhaps hoping for leniency when his sentence is reviewed by the parole board. He volunteers to collect more incriminating details from Zayden about the murder.
Zayden? Z-A-I-D-E-N.
Meanwhile, police run a quick check of Zayden's background.
He had a long spotted history, had been in and out of institutions. Some of his prior crimes were sex-related. Mr. Zayden was currently serving time on a rape.
But law enforcement records show that on March 5th, when Stephanie was killed, Zayden had already been out on parole for 2 months after a previous incarceration for kidnapping and assault. 4 days after providing his initial tip, Espinoza calls detectives with an update.
Yes, Jermaine. I got him to write the note.
He says Zayden had asked him about the statute of limitations on murder, and Espinoza offered to find out, but only if Zayden gave him the written details of what he did to Stephanie.
Can you read it to me?
I was crossing through there looking for some campus chicks.
He presented us with a letter.
I made up my mind. If I seen one by herself, she was mine. I asked her name. She said, Stephanie Hummer. And I roared and killed her.
And it was a letter confessing to killing Stephanie Hummer.
In his own handwriting, Zayden states he was cruising the OSU campus when he pulled alongside Stephanie and asked if she needed a ride. When she refused, Zayden claims he grew enraged and snatched her right then and there in the alley.
And she was really tripping, man, trying to talk.
But police have been burned once before.
A letter like this would be a confession. To me, it wasn't specific enough.
I gotta go, man.
Definitely not enough to make the case, but enough to keep you going.
So investigators contact Zayden's parole officer. He reveals that at the time of Stephanie's murder, Zayden was taking court-ordered drug counseling at a facility right near Pearl Alley. The very same street where Stephanie Hummer disappeared into the night forever. Into the rape and murder of college freshman Stephanie Hummer has just taken another strange turn.
Yeah, I got the note.
Can you read it to me?
Police have a written murder confession.
I made up my mind that she was mine. I asked her her name. She said, Stephanie Hummer.
Signed, sealed, and delivered by prison inmate Frank Zayden. Detectives interview Zayden at the Pickaway Correctional Institution.
So we know that you were out between March 5th and March 6th when Stephanie Hummer was killed.
Who? Initially, Zayden denies knowing anything about Stephanie's murder.
Does that look familiar to you? She told me she was from Cincinnati. She went to Ohio State for golfing, and I roared, man. And I killed her.
When he sees the letter, Zayden's demeanor changes.
How about you start talking right now before we put you away for rape and murder of a woman?
But instead of confessing to Stephanie's murder, Zayden admits to something else.
It's not my story. This is my handwriting, yes. Jermaine told me what to write. Jermaine told me we could get paid off of this, okay?
This was a giant con.
We can make some money off of this.
Zayden says Espinoza claimed to have a movie deal with a big Hollywood producer.
He convinced Zayden that he was going to make a movie.
I can start it? You can start it. You would be the one that killed the girl.
Espinoza told Zayden that the written confession would help prepare him to play the role of Stephanie's killer.
So when they got out of prison together, he could do this part in this movie. That's how stupid it was, but that's what it was.
Dude, we're gonna be set. Trust me.
Jermaine Espinoza had fooled Zayden and the police, all for his own twisted amusement. A cheek swab confirms Zayden is not a match to the DNA from Stephanie Hummer's homicide. Prison inmate Jermaine Espinosa's scheme is the second false confession in the case, and has cost the detectives even more valuable time and resources.
Just another frustration that we dealt with during the course of the investigation.
After countless months of police work, several solid suspects, and 2 false confessions, the case goes cold.
You could tell from Detective Barr that he was just getting frustrated. You could tell that the whole story was just eating his heart out.
For the next 10 years, Detective Barr does everything he can to keep Stephanie's case alive.
I'd have copies of every summary, everything I did. And I would get them out every once in a while and read them and look, and I couldn't find anything. And I often wondered, did I miss something?
Barr also regularly submits DNA from the rape into every police database he can find, including the FBI's CODIS, the National Combined DNA Index System of convicted felons, but each time he strikes out. By January 2006, 12 years after the murder, Detective Pat Barr retires and Stephanie's case seems destined to go unsolved forever.
We kind of got to the point where we really couldn't hope or expect that now there's going to be a breakthrough, so we had to move on.
On January 17th, 2006,
Detective Redmond?
Columbus homicide detective Russell Redmond has taken charge of the Hummer case and gets a phone call out of the clear blue.
Okay, 1994, you said?
You put that wyvern
At that
everywhere?
time that a CODIS match had been developed between a suspect and the DNA that had been submitted on the Stephanie Hummer homicide.
Hey, Pat. We just got a CODIS hit on an old case of yours. The victim's name was Stephanie Hummer.
I said, are you sure? I said, run it again. He goes, no, I'm sure.
The suspect's name is Jonathan Gravely. Does that ring a bell to you at all?
And when I was told his name, it meant nothing to me.
Columbus detectives begin to learn everything they can about their new suspect.
We did some background on him to find out exactly who he was.
A Columbus local his whole life, Jonathan Gravely grew up right near Ohio State University.
He was a star athlete from Whetstone High School, which is located just a few miles north of campus. He excelled in track, and he was just an all-around athlete.
In 1994, at the time of Stephanie's murder, he was a 24-year-old father of 2.
Oh, how you doing?
You know, same old same, man.
By 2006, he was a father of 4 and made a good living working at one of the area's manufacturing companies.
He had no violent felonies that he had been accused of in the past.
I just need you to sign right here.
His only contact with the law came during regular visits with a county probation officer over failure to pay child support, a non-violent felony offense.
One more thing. I gotta get a DNA test from you now. All violent felons in the past only had to do it, but now they want it for everybody.
If you want, we can log
So if
on.
you don't do it, you're gonna go back to county.
A new state bill passed in 2005